So Eric Bledsoe is out for the season. What does that mean to you? Welcome everyone.
Devastation.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Basketball podcast from All.In. This is Dan, and we have Randy here. And then, as you can see on my right side, we have an AFK, but don't worry about him. So this past week, a couple of key players have got injured, and they're out for the season. Eric Bledsoe was one of these guys. He was injured for a while, but from what it seems like, he's going to do surgery to repair his torn meniscus so that I guess in the long run it's going to be better for him. For the team, is not as great, but he's worried more about his career. Randy, you have Eric Bledsoe on one of your teams. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are I'm devastated. He was a top four shooting guard. Outside of his turnovers, he was huge. 20 points a game, steals, a little bit of blocks here and there.
And so, how early did you pick him in your fantasy draft? Did you get him as a steal, or did you get him right around where he should have been?
I think I had him going where everybody else had him. I think third round, fourth round, something like that.
Okay. And with his performance, if you're playing in 9-cat leagues, then he's going to hurt you in turnovers, of course. But, I mean, in 8-cat leagues, I think he's easily one of the top 4 or 5 shooting guards in terms of fantasy basketball. And if you had him and he's gone now, it definitely hurts, right?
Yeah.
So,
I had him and Kemba Walker together, and it was beautiful.
so Kemba Walker actually recently had a really big game too, right?
Yeah, he dropped 30 or 40 on
32,
somebody.
I think, against
Okay.
Oklahoma, against KD. But yeah, in terms of Eric Bledsoe being out, like who are the guys that are going to be benefiting from him being out for the season, and what are they looking at, or what have they been putting up recently since he's been out?
I think the top two guys would be Devin Booker and TJ Warren. I think both of them are now scoring in the mid-teens and on good percentages as well, from around 50% for both of those guys.
Yeah, above 50, right? That's a really
Oh yeah,
good
yeah,
in terms of the guards.
yeah, and
Um,
putting up at least 1 3 each as well.
have you watched these two guys play at all?
No, I don't really watch Phoenix Suns games.
Well, I've seen a little bit of highlights there and a couple of clips and everything. Usually the full game highlights. And Devin Booker seems like somebody that's really interesting to watch. I think he does have a lot of upside, but T.J. Warren he's been really solid. And I think both of these guys, their numbers aren't going to change too much from these last 5 games or so since Bledsoe has been out. So I think they're going to be constantly going to be putting up some good numbers because they don't have a lot much else offense going on for that team, right?
Well, the other guy that get a little uptick would be PG Tucker, but he's been getting a lot of minutes lately anyways, but he's been awful.
Yeah, and
And
who's their point guard? They have Brandon Knight.
Brandon Knight,
Yeah.
yep.
Do you think his numbers are going to go up at all, or do you think he's going to be kind of doing the same kind of workload?
I think he's going to be Lillard-like. He's just going to be dropping huge points on everybody.
Huge points. What about the field goal efficiency?
I'm not worried about that. He's just going to be a beast. It's going to go down, but with usage, that usually happens. Turnovers are going to go up as well. But those threes and points are going to be worth it.
All right. Now, another guy that has been playing really well recently, JJ Barea. Um, he has been pretty solid recently. I mean, he had a couple of bad games, but more or less, he's been putting up some pretty big numbers. 14.6 points a game, 5.2 assists, 2.2 rebounds, 2.8 three-pointers, and he's shooting at a 50% clip. So that's pretty solid. Considering that he's playing on a Dallas team that's pretty, I would say they're pretty stacked in the guard area. And then also
Yeah.
with Chandler Parsons getting his minute restriction lifted. What do you think about like the situation in Dallas and Chandler Parsons as well?
In terms of their point guard situation, I think it's a mess. Like you said, they have four decent point guards that could all start. You have JJ Barea, Harris, Williams, and Felton. And I did pick up JJ Barea because I think short term he might be useful, but a week from two from now, he might go back to being irrelevant. So I would avoid all of them unless you're desperate for a guard.
Yeah, he is one of those guys. I think he's always been like that, where he can get hot for like a week or two and just really make it rain, and then he'll just disappear for like the next three weeks to 4 weeks. So you think that's gonna be like his kind of thing? He's just pick him up while he's hot, drop him when he's not.
Exactly. And you can say that for all four of those guards. Just whoever's hot, pick them up, and then don't be too attached.
Well, what about Chandler Parsons? He had a one really good game. He had 20 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and then right after that, he had his minute restriction lifted and was reinserted back into the starting lineup. And then after that, he's just been shit again.
I wouldn't bank on him keeping this consistency. He's coming off an injury. That was a long-term injury. I forget what the injury was. Do you remember?
I
Was
don't even remember what his injury was either. Um, I just know that he hasn't been the same player as he was since he left Houston. He's been really disappointing as a Dallas Maverick,
yeah.
in my opinion.
I don't think it's gonna change anytime soon.
A lot of people still have hope in him, though. Like they still believe he has something left, and I think if you can bank on that kind of a feeling, as soon as he gets on his next upward trend, just deal him. Like give it to the person that wants him. Like
Yeah, I would move him if you could get something decent back.
yeah, he's so trash. I mean, he looks good, but still. Another guy that had made big jumps in the waivers. Ish Smith from the Philadelphia 76ers. He just got traded from New Orleans Pelicans. And since his trade, his numbers have been pretty stellar. Um, we told you last time to pick him up as soon as you could, once we heard about this trade. And I think if you had him during this past week, it more or less paid off. Since the trade, he's had 13.4 points, 1.2 steals, 7.6 assists, and he's shooting 80% from the free throw. The things that are going to hurt you, though, if you're playing a 9-cat league, is that he has 3 turnovers a game, and he's shooting at 33% from the field. What do you think about Ish Smith being in Philly, and how that's going to affect anybody who has him right now?
I don't trust him. Dude shoots 33% from the field. And he just went from one bad team to another bad team with too many point guards. So between Tyreek Evans, Norris Cole, Drew Holiday, I don't think he's gonna be able to sustain this because bad teams like to change their rotations constantly.
That's an interesting take on it. I'm on the other side of this. I'm really excited about this. I think if you have Ish Smith, you picked him up. That's pretty solid. And if you want to deal him, you can always deal him, and because it is risky. You don't know what you're gonna get out of him, especially on the Philadelphia 76ers team. But I mean, he provides offense that they need. They've been winning, right? They've been winning with him. Like people are like, oh, aren't the 76ers supposed to be tanking? They're not tanking. They're winning games. Um, and I think on the 76ers team, they don't really have any other option there. They had Tony Roden, who they waived. Um, yeah, I think Ish Smith is in it for the long run. He's going to be starting. He's going to soak up all the minutes. He's definitely going to keep shooting. He's not shy with shooting the ball at all. He's shooting like 15 shots a game. The only thing is that he's not going to make a high number of them. Like his field goal percentage is always going to hurt you, but if you need points and assists, he's got it. He's playing really well with Nerlens Noel and Jahlil Okafor as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Tony Roten, though, I know there is one team that also lost a point guard for the rest of the season. So for this part of the segment, we're gonna start talking about the injuries. Okay. Jarrett Jack. I love this guy. I've talked about him on every single segment we had, every single podcast, and I'm devastated by this because it just sucks. Like he was doing so well, and so if you don't know what happened to him, he was driving to the basketball or driving to the hoop. I mean, there's no contact. His knee buckled, and from what it seems like, his ACL has been torn, and he's officially out for the season. What are your thoughts on that?
I think they also said his meniscus is torn as well.
His meniscus as well?
Yeah.
Oh my god. This guy's just hurting all around.
Oh, but I think Dan, you're moving too far from the mic. I can't
I'm
hear
moving too
you.
far from the mic? Okay.
Yeah.
So with with Jarrett Jack being out, the main person who's gonna benefit from this is I think Shane Larkin, because really they have no guards on their team. They have no point guard other than Jarrett Jack and Shane Larkin. Would you agree?
Yeah. Jarrett Jack is actually another guy I own. So this week I lost two guys,
Oh my
and
god.
and he finally started to string together some good games too, because he had a stretch where he was just god awful.
I always liked him. Even though he had some bad games and stuff like that, he was pretty steady. And like, even if he didn't score, he would at least pass the rock. And of course, he has this shitty field goal percentage because nobody on his team can score either. He's just chucking up
And
shots like crazy.
his turnovers were awful too.
Yeah,
He was
also,
averaging like four turnovers at some point. But
and
I have faith in ISO Joe. I think ISO Joe will get even more touches and be more inefficient, but still put up some points.
do you think Shane Larkin's gonna be a good pickup for you if you lost Jared Jack or
I actually immediately picked him up after I found out Jared Jack.
I'm not? It makes sense. It definitely makes sense because who else do they have? Like he's gonna be playing 48 minutes a game, Shane Larkin. But the thing is, like, I don't believe him. Like, I don't think Shane Larkin is good. Like, I think he's gonna get dominated by the other point guards. Um, what I do think is gonna happen though is Tony Roten, who's no longer on the team. Wouldn't it make sense to pick him up if you're Brooklyn?
I think they'll go out and get a point guard. I'm just not sure who they're gonna get.
Okay. There's a lot of
And
point guards out there.
in terms of Shane Larkin, I think he can be your like second, third, like deep guard. You can plug when you're desperate. I think he'll do something for you. He's not gonna hurt you.
Well, we don't know
I
yet, right? We'll have to see.
I think he can give you maybe like 9 points, 4 assists consistently.
Okay. So the next injury that we have, Kenneth Fareed. He also had a very bad injury last night. He collided with teammate Will Barton, and he was taken off the court on a stretcher and in a neck brace. They were worried that there was a possible fracture in his spine, but he wasn't. He can move his fingers, he can move his hands. There's no sign of paralysis, and I think you mentioned there was an update on him.
Yeah, I think they said that he's gonna be okay. I think the MRI cleared him.
Okay, and did they say any timetable on when he may start playing again?
No, but I think they're gonna be careful. So maybe a week before he plays.
Okay. Well, that's gonna suck for anybody that has like Nikola Jokic and Yusuf Nurkic because if Kenneth Faried is out or if he was out for the long run, those guys would have been the major benefactors. I mean, Jokic and Nurkic are still doing pretty good. They're sharing their time pretty consistently, and they're putting up some decent numbers if you're in a deep league. But I mean, I think the guy that would have benefited the most with Fareed being out would be Darrell Arthur. But if Kenneth Faried is not out, he's pretty much a non-factor. Leave him on the waivers.
I don't think Daryl Arthur was ever gonna do anything. He's been in the league 6 years, and
Hey,
he hasn't
if
and he
he's
hasn't been good.
if he's managed to stay in the league, he's doing something right.
I mean, riding the bench for 6 years. give you a lot of confidence, especially with Denver not winning that many games. I think they might choose to let Nye or Justef play.
And so we also talked about Al Jefferson almost every single podcast as well. Um, he is gonna do an arthroscopic surgery to repair a tear in his lateral meniscus on his right knee. This is his contract year. Um, he's not doing very well for his contract year. Like, what numbers are we looking at in compared to last year?
His points have dropped from about 16 to 12. His rebounds have dropped from 8.4 to about 6. He managed to keep his field goal percentage at a decent 80, no, 48%. His free throws have gone down pretty much across the board. Everything has gone down.
Everything's gone down. Yeah, he looks like a shell of his former self, and combined with like his weed incident and everything, it just doesn't look like a good contract year for him. Like, man, it's kind of disappointing. But do you think Charlotte's even gonna want him back? And if he does come back, he's probably. I feel like he's gonna sign with a contender if he can't get paid.
I don't think anyone's going to pay him. Everyone's too scared. He's going to get a contract somewhere, but it's not going to be the big 10 mil a year deal that
Right.
he was.
It's gonna be like one of those veteran maximums on a winning team. Like,
Oh, I think he can do better than that. He can probably get a 2 year, $10 million deal or something like that.
maybe, but wouldn't he want to win a championship? I don't know. I don't know
Well,
about him.
at 5 mil a year, that's pretty affordable for someone that was doing 20 and 10.
It's possible. I don't know. Some teams are rebuilding as well. They may need that veteran leadership, even though he's not really showing it. um, but yeah, we'll see where it goes from there. If you have Al Jefferson, I mean, I've been talking about Cody Zeller and Frank Kaminsky. I would say keep riding those guys. One of them is eventually gonna get more playing time than the other. I don't know.
I'm betting the farm on both guys. I'm picking up both guys everywhere.
All right, so another power forward that is out, Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin, he was having a pretty damn good year. Like, what are the numbers that we're looking at here? For 23.2 points, 5 assists per game, 8.7 rebounds. As usual, his blocks are not there. Um, and I think he improved, or at least maintained his free throw percentage too, which everyone keeps hating on him for. I'm like, yo, he improved his free throws every single year. Why would you not picking him up early? I think he's worth it. So that's pretty good, and also his field goal percentage is good. He's shooting pretty well this year, like really well actually. But he tore his left quad tendon. He's avoiding surgery, and he's targeting a mid-January to early February return. So in the meantime, who do you think is going to be benefiting from these, and what are how are these guys performing so far?
Three guys we're looking at right now: Wesley Johnson, Paul Pierce, Austin Rivers had two big games. Wesley Johnson, sorry, has been consistent, providing about 8 points. Was it 1-3? But Paul Pierce also had a couple big games here and there. But overall, I'm not hot in any of these guys.
You're not hot on any of these guys. I think
They're,
the guy to ride is Austin Rivers, because it seems like anytime anybody gets injured on the team, like, dad is just like, all right, son, it's your turn to play. you know, like you saw that when JJ Redick was out, when Jamal Crawford was
yeah,
out.
yeah.
Like they're just like, all right, Austin Rivers, go ahead. The thing is, like, the weird part is that this is a power forward that is out now. I would like to think that Paul Pierce is going to soak up the minutes, or even Josh Smith, but Josh Smith is irrelevant right now. I think Paul
Yeah.
Pierce is going to soak up a lot more minutes, but I still think Austin Rivers is going to get some more playing time as well, too.
Of all three, I like Wesley the most. Even though he has a really poor field goal percentage, he does get you like 1-3, 1 steal, and 1 block.
That's true. And he doesn't
Um,
hurt you too much in the turnover section either.
no. Oh, the problem with Paul Pierce is he's too old to play power forward. He can play 5 minutes a game before he just bails out. and he's been pretty inconsistent even when given minutes. And Austin Rivers, I have little to no faith in this kid. He's been in the league for what, 4 years now.
It's true. Um, I don't know. I think
It's,
it's.
he, I don't give up for day.
I think that's the only reason he's getting
I don't
any
think he's a late
playtime.
bloomer. I think he would be in China right now if it wasn't for Daddy.
I mean, his dad's the only one giving him playtime.
No, no other team would because he just isn't that great of a shooter.
It's true. He
For a shooting guard, he's awful.
he had to take his son on to keep him in the league. It's
Yeah.
pretty depressing. So we're moving on to New Orleans, the Pelicans, Tyreek Evans. This guy has been this guy has been having knee issues for a while. He's had two surgeries on this right knee. He has tendonitis right now, and this is also the same knee that kept him out at the start of the season. Um, if you have this guy, he's the guy that you love and hate at the same time because he is a triple double threat. Like he's getting 15 points a game, 7 assists, 6 rebounds. He's getting a steal a game, and aside from his field goal percentage and turnovers, he's also shooting good from free throws as well. So, I mean, when he does play, he's playing really well, and it's just he's just not playing enough. Like, what are your thoughts on Tyreek?
I think he's always been injured. Every season, there's something that's kept him out. I personally avoid him every year
He's
because of
one
the triple double threat.
he's one of those guys that is his best year was his rookie year, which is a
Yeah,
bit sad.
exactly.
It's a bit sad. Um, a guy that's benefiting, that will benefit, I think, if Tyreek Evans does go out. Now that they don't have Ish Smith to run a point, um, Drew Holiday, he can still play, but he's also in and out of the lineup as well. The next guy in line, I think, is Norris Cole, and he is putting up some decent numbers as well in terms of scoring, and he had a really good game the other night too. So, I
I
think,
agree.
yeah, if you have him, stash him. Like he's really good, I think.
I think he's one Drew Holiday injury from being relevant, but right now, until then, I'm not too high on him.
Um, we're going to over to the Utah Jazz. This team is such an odd team because they're doing well, but they shouldn't be doing that as good as they are. I mean, they're not doing great either. They're not going to make the playoffs, but they should be doing a lot worse than they really are.
I
And
agree. The injuries have pretty much decimated this team everywhere.
right, and this is another one of those teams where the guard position is just all out of whack and everything. Alec Burks, he has a fractured fibula. He's going to do ankle surgery to speed up the healing process. Um, and him being out is going to be pretty big because he provided good source of points, um, 3 per game, rebounds, assists, but it's more or less empty points. Um, the guys that are benefiting from this the most are going to be, I think, Gordon Hayward, Trey Burke, and Rodney Hood. But out of all of these guys, um, I think it's Trey Burke and Gordon Hayward that are making the most out of it recently.
I think so too. They're just gonna get more shots. Rodney Hood's gonna get a ton more minutes, but he just doesn't shoot well enough to warrant all the extra shots. So I think, like you said, Trey Burke is gonna be great. Gordon Hayward's even better. But back to the Utah Jazz, I think their team is just so talented. After like stinking up for so many years, they amassed enough talent that they actually can go through these injury spouts, these spurts of injuries, and be okay.
Yeah, and I think Gordon Hayward, he has been lighting it up and everything like that. His rebounds have gone up. His assists has gone up as well too. So that's great for Gordon Hayward. He's the only offensive option on the team really. So it wasn't a surprise that his numbers are going to go up because he has to carry offensively. But Trey Burke, I mean, he was the starting point guard last year, right? And he completely fell out of rotation almost. I think this is the time where he needs to make a name for himself. Like this is his opportunity to get back in, and he needs to take advantage of it.
And Trey Burke is also not known to be a great shooter as well. So
No,
I think
but
he's going to average 40%.
surprisingly, he's been averaging 45% in the last seven. So he's been shooting pretty well, 17.3 points a game. Not really passing as you would
The
want
fall
him to.
fit. I-
Sorry, what you say? You got cut out a bit.
uh, on he's a shooting point guard, so
Right.
I'm not surprised the assists aren't there. I think the field goal percentage will go down a little bit, but the points will stay there.
Also in Utah, we have Derek Favors. He's been out for like 5 games or something with back spasm. So it must be some pretty bad back spasms. He's been doing pretty good on the offensive end as well. Even on the defensive end, he's getting 1.5 steals, 1.2 blocks, 8.6 rebounds, 16.8 points, and he's shooting really good, 52% from the field and 70% from the free throw line. So if you have him, it kind of sucks that he's sitting out due to back spasms. And then there's also another big man, Rudy Gobert, who's been out for a while. He's been out with the MCL sprain. He's out indefinitely, and there's no timetable on his return still. So, I mean, with these two guys being out, there's a lot of room for the front court in terms of their bench players. And I think the guy that's going to benefit the most is Jeff Whitey, as Shaq calls him, Jeff Whitey.
Yeah. I, I feel the pain. I own both those players on my team.
Damn, you own everyone that's injured. Why are you picking up these injury guys, man?
They were my twin towers when I got them. I was like, all right, those guys going to be my double guys, steals, blocks, and then I don't have to worry about anything else. And collapse.
That's so disappointing. And you had who else did you have that was injured? You had
I think Jarrett Jack is on that
Jack?
team too.
Wow, man, you're hurting. You're hurting a lot.
Yeah, I think the team is 2-7 this season.
Oh my god, did you pick up Jeff Whitey?
Yeah. No, I don't didn't. I don't
No?
think I need him that badly.
He's not doing too bad though. He's getting 10 points a game, 2.5 blocks, 1.3 steals. He's there defensively. 7.8 rebounds is pretty good. 52% from the field, 71% from the free throw line. He's not bad. And I think if Derek Favors continues to stay out, why not pick him up? I think he's pretty solid. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the injuries this
I
week.
would pick him up in a deeper league, but
For that team is not deep enough, eh?
no.
All right. So moving on to the next segment of this podcast, we're just gonna talk about some notable players recently, or just guys that we want to talk about just because they deserve to be talked about. We have Bradley Beal from the Washington Wizards. He had a stress reaction in his right fibula. This is the 4th occurrence in terms of this the same injury, and when he does come back, he's going to be on a minutes reduction, or they're going to watch him. It really is disappointing because I want Washington to do good. I mean, they have a pretty solid team. John Wall's doing really well with Marcin Gortat. Who's the other guy? What's his name?
Otto Porter. Otto
Otto Porter Jr.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay. He's playing really well too, and like his points and his rebounds have definitely gone up recently. I think he just had a bad game, but I mean, I think he's gonna bounce back from that. Because of Bradley Beal's issues there, I don't think a lot of people know he's gonna have a minutes cap, and but because of that, when he does come back, I would say deal Bradley Beal if you have him. What are your thoughts on that? Would you ride him out or would you deal him?
I would get rid of him. I have no faith that he's going to make it through the season.
I hope he does. Of course, like watching his minutes should help that, but I mean, that's 4 times this has bothered him in his short career, and you don't want to see a guy like that with so much talent be hindered by such a shitty injury, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, if you have him, get someone more solid, someone more reliable. Let that be somebody else's headache. On the Washington Wizards as well, we have Gary Neal. I think he's worth a stash. Um, he's pretty irrelevant right now on the Wizards, but you know that he can score. He's just gonna put up empty points. That's it. So if you're in need of points, I think they may try to trade him at the trade deadline, and if they do put him on a team that is weak in the guard section, maybe even Brooklyn, I think he can put up some points. I don't know. What do you think?
I lack faith in Gary Neal. Dude's been in the league forever. Anyone that's been in the league for a long time and they haven't done anything for themselves, they're not about to start.
No late blooming for him either. No love. You guys
No.
have no love. I'm too optimistic about this stuff, apparently.
They don't pass the eye test.
All right, so we have Sacramento Kings, Omri Casspi. Let's talk about this guy. Tell me his stats for the year.
I think lately he's been putting up 20 points the last 7 games, 15 over the last 15 days, over 50% shooting. The only thing that he's hurting you in is his poor free throw shooting.
Right.
He's got rebounds. He's hitting a ton of threes. He's hot. He's balling. Ride him till the wheels come off.
I really like him. Like he's definitely shown progress throughout the season, and he's shooting really well from the field. And like you said, putting up a ton of threes. I think he hit like 9 3-pointers the other day. I think he is playing really well alongside Rajon Rondo. I think Rajon Rondo is finding him a lot for open threes. Yeah, I think if you have him, would you ride him till the wheels fall off, or would you try to deal him too?
I don't know. I don't know
Or
who would. If you can get something back, but I don't think many people are gonna give you a good deal on him because his poor free throw shooting. You would
right.
have to find a guy who's tanking free throws, and he'd be happy to get him.
And I think also because like the people we play with in our leagues, they're so hesitant to make any trades. Like there's no trades that go on. We might see like 3 trades max in an entire season if we're
Yeah,
lucky. So people have no faith in anybody at all on our teams.
but people don't like to take risk, and
Yeah, yeah.
that's how they are.
And Omri Casspi, I mean, if you're gonna base him on history and his past performances, you're probably not gonna want to take a risk on him as well either. But I mean, if they're not gonna take a risk on him, you might as well. Would you go out of your way to go and trade for Omri Casspi and try to get him on your team?
No, unless I'm punting free throws, I really don't want this kid.
What if you have both DeAndre Jordan and Andre Drummond on your team?
Then he's my MVP. Like,
Do you think he can keep this up? I mean, the last 7 games, 20 points, 9 rebounds, 4.7 points. Obviously, I don't think he can keep up the 4.7 3-pointers or whatever. But in like scoring and rebounding, do you think he can keep those numbers up?
I think 15, 16 points he can do. 20, I don't know. That's a lot because the defenses are going to adjust, and he's not going to get those open threes.
That's true. I would say maybe even 17, 18 points. I think Rajon Rondo will find him. And then, like I mentioned before, we have Cody Zeller and Frank Kaminsky from Charlotte. These guys have been pretty solid. They're putting up like close to double double every game. They're splitting time. Eventually, one of them is gonna outshine the other. Who do you think is gonna be the one to take the other guy's minutes?
No, they're going to play together.
They're gonna continue splitting time.
Frank is going to stretch it. He's going to be the stretch big. Zeller's going to be down at the post. I think Jefferson's done for the season. I think Marvin Williams' minutes are gonna disappear, and they're gonna go all to the Frank. And I'm like I said before, I'm gonna bet the entire farm on these two guys because you know my injury situation. I am desperate for talent.
That is so funny. I actually like Frank Kaminsky a lot too. I did ride Cody Zeller for a bit earlier in the season. I've been switching back and forth, mainly because I don't have room for both of them as well. So I'm just picking up whoever's hot, but at the same time, I'm not confident enough to put them into my starting lineup. So they've just
I
been
think
bouncing off and on my bench.
no, I had Frank in one of my this week, and he had that one big game where he blew up for like what 28 points or 21
Yeah,
points,
yeah.
a ton of threes. So it's paying off. I think I might actually win this week.
All right, and then from Chicago, the Chicago Bulls, we have Taj Gibson. Uh, Taj Gibson, he's been playing pretty solid recently. I think it's just a showcase, just to show other teams what he's capable of, and so that they can make the trade sweeter, a little bit sweeter, right? Um, However, in my opinion, I think he's a guy that you should try to get on your team, because once he does get traded, depending on where he goes, he can easily be a starting power forward. So, what do you think about that?
I don't know where he's gonna land. I'm not sure who has an opening for power forward. There's a bunch of power forwards on the market. I think with the guy in Phoenix, Marcus Morris.
Marcus Morris.
Yeah. So
Is it Marcus or Markeith? One of
I
them,
think they
right?
mixed up. I think Markeith. Sorry, I think Markeith is the one in Phoenix.
I don't know which one.
And he there's a bunch of power forwards I think on the block, so that might hurt where Taj Gibson gets to go. I wouldn't take it to the bank that he goes somewhere else and gets starter minutes.
Um, I don't know. I think Portland is really hurting in the power forward situation. Um,
But they're not winning. They're not chasing. I don't see why they would give up assets for Top Gibson when they're nowhere close to making the playoffs.
that's true. But I don't think Chicago's really looking to get anything back other than maybe a small forward.
Or you think that Chicago's going for a salary dump?
No, I think they're trying to free Bobby Portis. Is that his name?
I think so. Bobby Portis.
Bobby
Oh.
Portis, man. Have you seen his past couple of games?
I think he just had the one good game. That's it.
Okay, let me look at this here. He had okay, today he didn't do too well, but he had 16 points, 12 points, and in those games he had 10 rebounds, 7 rebounds, and 9 rebounds. This kid is not shy with shooting the ball. Um, and he's highly productive for even the little minutes that he's playing right now. I think they want to get him into the mix. I think they want to give him some playing time, and with Joakim Noah and Taj Gibson, if they manage to trade those guys, like if you have Bobby Portis, I think you scored big.
Oh, yeah, I agree with Portis, but I'm not huge on Taj Gibson. I think he's just gonna rot somewhere on a bench. Joakim Noah, I own him on one of my teams. He's been thoroughly disappointing.
Okay,
I
let me.
think he's another candidate to get dealt. I think he has a better chance. Uh, he he has way better assists. Comes off the bench, he can make things happen.
Yeah. Um, I think for what could they get out of Portland? Who do they have? They have Damian Lillard, who plays small forward for them. Al Farouk Aminu. Uh,
I just don't think Portland has a lot of talent on that team to be making trades.
if they can get Taj Gibson though for like a Gerald Henderson, I don't know why Chicago would want Gerald Henderson, but or maybe I don't know Charlotte. Charlotte can give up Michael Kidd Gilchrist, who's injured. Probably don't want to do that. Batum is playing solid, by the way. Um, I don't know. I'm hopeful for Taj Gibson. I think if you have him, hang on to him because either way, he's either gonna get traded and be shit, where he's not really making a big impact for your team right now, anyways. Or he can just blow up and be pretty solid. So I would say hang on to Taj Gibson. Um, in Portland,
Be warned though, his poor three throw shooting, and he's not very good at scoring either.
yeah, most of his points are going to be on like putback dunks and stuff like that. And but he's going to be there for rebounds and blocks, right?
Yep.
Offensive rebounds too, which is something that you always like to see. In Portland, we have Myers Leonard. The last 5 games for Myers Leonard, he's been 14.4 points, 5.8 rebounds, 3.2 3-pointers on 52% shooting. It's gonna hurt you a little bit from the free throw line, and he doesn't really get any blocks or steals. So defensively, he's not that great. I think he's been putting up some pretty solid numbers, and also I think he's gonna start stealing some playtime from Mason Plumlee as well too. The only reason I think that Mason Plumlee can hang on to some of that playtime is because he does get you the rebounds and he does get you a block. So on the defensive end, he makes more sense. But Myers Leonard has been putting up some pretty solid offensive numbers. What are your thoughts on the Portland backcourt there?
Oh, I've had high hopes
Front
since
court,
this.
sorry.
Sorry, yeah, since the beginning of the season, I've had really high hopes on Myers Leonard, but he's disappointed me. But now I'm all in on Myers Leonard again. I picked him up in my league. I think he will take minutes from Mason Plumlee, and Ed Davis is a scrub. You know, he's been again. He's been in the league for how many years? From Toronto to the Lakers, he's shown that he's a scrub.
I I'm one of those guys that believes in Ed Davis just because he was from Toronto. And I'm like, man, this guy is so disappointing. He had a good start to the season, but he's irrelevant right now. He is doing nothing.
The good thing about Leonard is that you get those juicy threes from the big position. So if you're running a small lineup, he's perfect.
Yeah, I think so as well too, and he definitely stretches the floor. And for Damian Lillard, even though Damian Lillard is a 3-point shooter, he does like to drive to the rim as well too. So having that extra space is going to be pretty beneficial for him, even to drive and kick. So yeah, that's more or less it. Did you have any other guys that you wanted to talk about at all?
Let me see. I think. Oh, just a shout out to my first overall pick, Anthony Davis. I think he's back, and he has a chance to be number one again with Stephon Curry out. Justify my first overall pick.
Okay, first of all, I don't think Stephen Curry's injury is even serious. I think they're just like, yo, we have such a big lead, we might as well arrest him. Like, who cares?
Back to my point. I think Anthony Davis, AD, has a chance to go back to being number one player in fantasy.
I hope so, and I know a lot of people picked him over Stephen Curry. I managed to get Stephen Curry at one point as well too, because um, the first pick went to Anthony Davis. So, yeah, that's hopefully he does well, and yeah, Stephen Curry. I don't know. Yeah, so that's about it for today. If you have anything you want to talk about, leave a comment down below. Let us know what you like, other things you might want to talk about. And if you like the video, click a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and join us next week. All right, peace.
Latest.
Bye.